G'day, my fellow media collectors, and welcome to the Comic Book Movie Collector's Guide. I'm your host, Troy, and this is your show about collecting all things superhero cinema. And today we're going to review Zero Man, the complete series on DVD. And we're going to try and answer the question, is this Zero Man a superhero or just a total zero? Ugh, what do you say we get into it? Zero Man is an animated superhero cartoon that went for one season with a combined total of 13 episodes, each with a runtime of 22 minutes. It first aired on the Canadian Cartoon Network Teletoon on the 11th of September 2004 and was later released on DVD on the 2nd of June 2009 with no Blu-ray or 4K HD release as of this video. The show was developed by J.D. Smith and it was directed by Chris Roy and Stacey Eberschlein. The show was produced by Amberwood Entertainment, with it being distributed by Peach Arch and Kaboom Entertainment. Although a second season was announced as in production, it was abandoned after the death of Leslie Nielsen. Okay, if we look at the case, I really like the look of this. This really sucked me in, and this is kind of what got me interested. And as you can see, Ryan Reynolds' name at the top, trying to capitalize on Ryan Reynolds' success. Yeah, like I said, this looks pretty interesting. It is a bit of a throwback to the 90s. Look at old mate's costume there. Holy Jesus. That looks like something straight out of the late 80s, early 90s. On the side, not too bad. Would I say it blends in? Kind of does a little bit. And then on the back, nothing too bad, and it's done in English and in French, obviously for the Canadian audience because that's where it's from. But yeah, it doesn't look too bad at all, actually. Nicely done. And the disc, nice to see a colour disc or two, and no, it's nothing different. It's pretty much the same, except one's got disc 1, one's got disc 2. Nothing different, just a shot there of Zero Man flying away. But still, not too bad. I love a good colour disc. Overall, it actually doesn't look too bad. Like I said, this kind of sucked me in a bit, and I thought, I'm interested. I've got to see what this is about. So for that alone, I am probably going to give this an 8 out of 10. So look, the show introduces us to Les Mutton, an absent-minded and mild-mannered postman who still lives with his mother at the age of 63. But Les comes into the possession of an alien supersuit that grants the wearer superpowers, turning him into Fair City's own hero, Zero Man. And with the help of his man-in-the-chair Ty and his sidekick in training Gary, Zero Man protects the people of Fair City from all manners of criminal threats.
Threat neutralized.
Look, straight off the bat, you really pick up on the fact that this is primarily a parody of, say, Superman. But it also lampoons a lot of other tropes from a lot of the superhero genre. And it's laced with this overabundant dose of toilet humour. Now, Zero Man is clearly modelled off Leslie Nielsen himself, and that pretty much that stereotypical character that Leslie plays in almost everything he's ever done, which is this bumbling, clueless idiot that somehow manages to succeed even through his own incompetence.
How does he do that?
Now, look, the premise of a Leslie Nielsen type superhero sounds great, but with this show, the over-the-top toilet humour references, pardon the pun, really soil what is a good idea. Now, the scripts were different, as on one hand, I really liked some of the original ideas of the episode, and they didn't go down the usual path of most cartoons in their like usual 13 story arcs. But on the other hand, after watching all the episodes, I still don't know if the writers really knew who their core audience was. You know, one minute it's very adult joke or situation oriented, and then the next minute it's very kid-like joke and story.
It's for smart kids, not weirdos.
Look, I still don't know who this is for. And after some research online, seems no one else really does either. This should have been a great show, but I only found it confusing with no sort of clear direction. It was just trying so hard to be funny, throwing all manner of jokes at the audience with actually very few sticking a lot of the time. So look, for this, I'm afraid I'm only going to have to give it a 10 out of 30. Now, from my research, there is no comic book references out there. This character seems to be primarily created for this show. And as I said before, it's clearly a show based off a Superman type character. But hang on a minute. Now, look, actually, now that I think of it, it kind of reminds me of like the Greatest American Hero vibe, with the whole mild-mannered guy who finds an alien suit which gives him powers, and then he bumbles his way through fighting crime. Wow, that's very similar indeed.
I don't know what you're talking about.
One thing I have read is most of the characters are actually modelled off their voice actors, which I'll put together a pic here and I'll put it up here just to show you what I mean. And as you can see, they're pretty spot on. I also believe that Reynolds used to have a mustache at the time, hence why they've given him a mustache in this. And another character that looks way too familiar was the Mayor. And if it kind of made me think straight off, I thought, geez, he looks like Jay Sherman from the show The Critic that starred John Lovitz back in the day. And by looking at this, it almost looks like they were separated at birth.
Boy, the resemblance is uncanny.
Look, I found the animation to this pretty good. Actually, for early 2000 stuff, it's really good. And the character designs were a bit more of a 90s throwback. I mean, you've only got to look at Rusty Woodenwater here, up here, and you can see it looks like he was literally dragged out of a 90s kids cartoon. Now, as far as the cast goes, I'll have the list up here as well. And for such a stellar pedigree of comedic actors here, this should have been an outstanding cartoon. And for me, the actors really did play their roles great. Both Leslie Nielsen and Ryan Reynolds both played their trademark personalities that they are both so well known for to a T. But unfortunately, the poor scripts is what let the show down. And in the end, it wasn't really the actors. So for that, look, I think I'm going to give this a 14 out of 20. So, Zero Man has 0 special features, which I suppose is not really a surprise as it's just the 13 episodes. And that is really all I can give it at the end of the day is, yeah, you guessed it, a 0 out of 10. Now, the critic score came in at 0% and the audience score was 0%. So look, there was nothing on Rotten Tomatoes, as you can see. But as usual, IMDb to the rescue, and we have a score of 6.3 out of 10, which from what I read of the reviews is pretty spot on. But some of the reviews I read had me questioning myself, like, did I watch the same show as these reviewers did? As their descriptions of the show were nothing like what I watched. Maybe I'm missing something here. Did I watch a different cartoon? Anyway, look, each to their own, I suppose. And look, if we round it up, we are going to get a score of 6 out of 10. So for me, when I finally did get this DVD, my excitement to watch this show was off the chain. You've got two of these comedy superstars in Leslie Nielsen and Ryan Reynolds, both of which I have been big fans of both of these guys for many years. And look, I really thought, how could you go wrong with this dynamic duo? And from what I watched, I can't put really any blame of how bad this show was on them. I mean, these guys did the best they could with what they had. I feel it's the writers that let this show down at the end of the day with their excessive toilet humour, which went from being kind of a little amusing to start with to just plain lame and overused by the end of it. Look, I did get a chuckle out of it, in the first maybe 1 or 2 episodes, but the same jokes over and over again became really tiresome really quick.
God damn, that TV show's a lame!
And look, let's not forget the constant sexual innuendo towards Ryan Reynolds' character Ty, as it kind of has him 1 minute as this closet gay character, and the next minute he's like out and proud gay character. Like, there was no consistency from episode to episode. I mean, crikey, which is it? I couldn't tell. It's that lack of focus that doesn't help the storytelling or help setting up any of the jokes. One other thing that puzzled me was that Les Martin as in the show, keeps reminding us that he is 63, but he'll be 64 in 3 weeks. And yet his love interest is Sally Ubachik, who is in her early 20s or so, like way younger, like by 40 years. I mean, that would make him old enough to be a grandfather. I just didn't buy it. And it also came across a bit weird and creepy for my liking.
You are creepy as shit.
And with all of that combined, I just don't know who they were aiming for. This show at some points has some real kid elements to it, but then it also has this real adult humor and references that really aren't for kids. So for me, it's just a mess of a show. I mean, there's so much potential here, but it just seems like it was so poorly executed, you know, and it became a real massive disappointment for me.
No, sir, I don't like it.
So look, I don't really like giving it this, but I'm going to give it a score of 5 out of 20. So first up is collectability, and if we look at the collector scale, I would say this would be for really just maybe your comic book fan and up if you dig this type of humor. But if not, then I'd probably give it a hard pass. And it's really, from a collector side of things, not necessarily something you should have in your collection. Now, as far as availability goes on this one is definitely on your rare side of things, as there is only a couple of copies up for grabs on eBay and there is nothing on Amazon. So if you're looking for a copy, you really will have to hunt one down. As far as your average price goes, you are looking at somewhere between the $30 to $70 mark for DVD, due to its limited quantities out there. So you will really have to shop around if you want a good price. And of course, there is nothing for Blu-ray or 4K HD as of this video. Now, for the final score, we get a grand total of 43 out of 100. Okay, look, that's not that bad. It's a bit more than I thought, but a fair score nonetheless. So look, we asked the question, is Zero Man a superhero or just a total zero? It is more of a zero than a hero for me. The cast was great, the idea was good, the script was bad, and the jokes were even worse.
Deliberately bad jokes. It's kind of genius.
Hey, so if you like this video, I've got some more reviews for you right there. Or maybe you want to see some of my collection updates. Hey, I got you covered too. Why don't you check that one there? And of course, don't forget to do the most important thing. Throw me a bat like, and don't forget to hit that subscription button on the way out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.